Welcome to FoxTales Movie Club. I'm Sebastian Fox.
And I'm Tony Sherman. Each video we take a chosen movie and we do a discussion on our thoughts and opinions.
We'll be getting into the character, plot, and technical achievements with no regard for spoilers.
So if you haven't seen this movie and don't want to hear said spoilers, you have been warned.
Also, stick around to the end of the video to hear our topic for the next week.
Today's movie is Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge is a movie that came out in 2016, directed by Mel Gibson, composed by Rupert Gregson Williams, and stars Andrew Garfield.
I kind of miss Andrew Garfield being able to swing webs.
Yeah. I liked him as Peter Parker, I guess, but I don't know. I think Spider-Man's doing better now than he was back then. Those movies weren't great.
Yeah. Anyway, on to Hacksaw Ridge. I'm not usually one for really gory war movies.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a young child watching Patriot and my mother getting rather upset with my dad for allowing me to watch that. And ever since, kind of these types of movies are always kind of bring back that kind of feeling of, oh my goodness, this is kind of overwhelming. Like this movie, I think when we were talking about Hateful Eight the other day.
Yes.
But at the same time, I feel like, especially this one, really kind of has this kind of feeling of, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say realism, but this feeling of chaos of war. And
it's not promoting violence or anything. It's very much, it's almost an anti-violence film, really. But
it's like this anti-war, like the whole.
I wouldn't go so far as to say anti-war, though, because he does, Desmond wants to join up to defend his country.
That's true,
but he doesn't want to kill. It's more anti-violence than
That's
anti-war.
right. Yeah, anti-violence. Yeah, and that's kind of his whole thing, is that he is wanting to avoid this violence, and the movie starts off with him and his brother in kind of a scuffle, and so not knowing very much about this movie other than the idea that he's wanting to avoid violence, I was kind of surprised, okay, he's not starting off and anti-violence. He's starting off rather violent, but okay, that's how brothers do. They do kind of beat up on each other a little bit.
Don't necessarily knock each other out with cinder blocks.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shock, and I was I wasn't really sure how to react. Whether I almost felt like this seems almost over the top. I don't know. I can't think of any kid who would do that, who would think, okay, we're fighting pretty seriously, so I'm going to just pick up this brick that's on the ground and smack my brother in the face. But I guess that is that kind of formative moment that it propels him into this shock kind of state where he's thinking, oh, what have I done? And he's just staring there at the wall of the Ten Commandments and just thinking, thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
And so definitely was a very good way to show why this was such a big deal to Desmond.
Yeah.
Why this anti-violence was so important to him.
And then it even brings back that second moment later in the movie where he confronts his father, who was beating on his mother, and almost kills him. Yeah. So that gets pretty serious as well, that we get an even deeper reason as to not just this anti-violence, but this anti-gun, where he didn't even want to touch the gun. Yeah.
When they get into the kind of second part of the movie, when they get to basic.
Yeah. This movie is it's broken up into three very distinct parts of being just kind of his growing up and being in his hometown, and then going away to basic, and then everything he has to deal with there, and then going to Japan and Okinawa.
Yeah, and getting to titular Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
So getting into that first act, that first part, I don't know, we have kind of him as the child, but then him also a little bit older, but still there in his hometown. One of the other moments that I thought was kind of catching my eye, occurring twice, once when he's a younger kid and then once when he's a little bit older in his hometown, is when he was climbing this hiking trail kind of mountain area. And the first time he's with his brother, and the brother scrambles on up this boulder, and Desmond is kind of struggling to get up. And so Harold, I think it was Hal.
Yeah.
Harold like reaches down a hand and says, you want some help? And he's like, no, I don't need it. And he doesn't take the help. And then they finally get up there and they do their whooping and their hollering.
Yeah.
And then we see kind of similar kind of repeat of that scene after Desmond meets Dorothy.
Yes.
And they start getting closer, and we get this scene of them doing, and I think it's like almost the exact same shots of them hiking. There's like this little waterfall in these bushes that they like climb through, and they get to this boulder, and a very similar thing plays out. But instead of Desmond being the one unable to climb up the boulder, Desmond just kind of leaps up there, scrambles on up, like a mountain goat or whatever it was that Dorothy had called him.
Yeah.
And then Dorothy is the one who's unable to get up. But then, in contrast to how Desmond and Hal climbed up this boulder, where Desmond didn't really want to accept the help of his brother, when they get there, Desmond just jumps on up to the top, and Dorothy has a harder time being able to climb up this rock. But Dorothy accepts the help of Desmond with this a little bit of a payment required, quid pro quo, so to speak.
Yeah, I liked the relationship between the two of them quite a bit. It was very a very cheesy relationship, but
right.
I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah. It's cheesy, but kind of like this nice, pure relationship kind of feeling.
Yeah.
When Desmond first goes and meets Dorothy, he shows up at the hospital, and that's a whole nother sequence of events, how he got to this hospital and why he's at this hospital. But he shows up at this hospital and just like stares at her, and she's just like, if you're here for the signing up and listening for basic or whatever, it's over that way.
Yeah.
And he just keeps staring.
Yeah, he just needs his belt.
Yeah, that's right. He needed his belt. And she's like, I don't have your belt. And he's just like, oh, yeah, I know. It's just, very, very cheesy, just him sitting dumbfounded. And even like after like he gives blood, she draws his blood, and then the next day he goes back to her and he's like, I came to get my blood back. Yeah. And I was like, what? Oh, Desmond. No. It's just, very, very cheesy, but very nice relationship between the two of them. Nice interaction between the two of them.
Yeah, but with them getting with him going to the hospital, I liked
getting there. Yes,
I liked how it kind of sets up his medical, maybe not prowess, but just kind of like how he has a desire to help people. I guess kind of. Yeah. Where he's in the church and he hears the person or the car accident outside.
Yes.
And he's able to jump in, and he knows exactly what to do using his belt to
the tourniquet.
Yeah.
And even with like recognizing that, like one of the people there says, "Oh, we need to call an ambulance and get this boy to a hospital." And Desmond's just like, "Nope, no time. Just throw him in the back of your pickup truck. We got to go." And it's like rushes him to the hospital right away. So he definitely does have either like this interest that he's learned about some kind of knowledge of this medical understanding, or it's just something that he just is kind of knowing about some of this stuff based off of some of his earlier interactions with him nearly killing his brother. And so now he's like, what can I do to, instead of hurt people, what can I do to heal them, to help them, to take care of people? So very nice that even kind of continues to develop when he and Dorothy continue to get to know each other.
Yeah, ask your questions during the movie, and then starts giving him books.
Yeah, and she even made a comment about like, I got a book I can give you, and he's like about dating, about conversation, talking in a date. He's like, no. It's like, oh my goodness, they're so silly. Another relationship that I want to bring up in this first part of the story is the relationship between Tom Dawes, the father, with Desmond and with Hal and with their mother as well. That he comes across as this very cold, distant, unfeeling, unemotional person. The movie starts with him talking at these gravestones, and he's talking presumably to his fallen comrades, his fallen brothers from the Great War of World War One, and he has this comment about like, it's almost as if I died with you guys, and the whole time he doesn't stop the two brothers from fighting. He just says that's what they do, and he just kind of sits there and drinks, and he's just this abusive drunk, and that's something that really shapes Desmond as a person. That kind of father, but then even later on, we get this deeper understanding of what is a very formative interaction between him and his father, and how that played a role in Desmond's non-violence and wanting to not even touch a gun.
Yeah.
But the one of the main things that really developed Tom Dawes and brought out his character was when Desmond's brother walks into dinner wearing the uniform, and it's just this scene where no one really knows what to say at first. They just like kind of stare, and they sit at the dinner table and they start eating.
And this father just starts talking kind of normally.
Yeah, he's like, it's a nice uniform. It's nice and clean.
And the mother, it's like she knows what he's gonna say because she tries to stop him.
Yeah.
And then he starts telling the story about his friend who went to war.
Oh, it's hard to hear.
Loved his uniform.
Man. Yeah. Again, I'm getting goosebumps. Just you just like thinking back on it as you retell this story. It's like it's hard to hear. But yeah, that whole thing with the father just breaking down, and like he got all of his guts out on his uniform, and it ruined his nice uniform. And so the father ultimately, Tom Dawes just ultimately just kind of breaks down and just is sobbing and tells Hal to get out of my sight. And it's just kind of heartbreaking seeing this father realizing, I saw the horrors of war, and I saw everyone that I knew, everyone I was close to, die. And now my son is going to go, and the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then even when Desmond then tells him the same thing and comes to him and says, I've got to go. I got to go and defend my country. And I guess at that point the father just kind of accepts it and is like, okay, well, yeah, that's just the way it's going to be. I'm just going to be a father with no sons. So it's very kind of sad scene for him.
Yeah. But it is nice that he's able to come back later and kind of accept that I don't like that you're doing this, but I'm willing to
do what
help
I can.
Help you do what you feel like you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that kind of then pulls us into Desmond actually going off into basic.
Moving on to the second part of this movie.
The second part is now Desmond going and starting his training.
We get introduced to a lot of different characters
all these different characters. Yeah. And I really liked how in a very short amount of time we get introduced to all these characters and we get introduced to them in such a way that we can find a way to connect with them even though we're only just now seeing them, and we want to have a way to see, okay, this is this person who's sleeping next to Desmond in the next bed over. This is their interaction. This person is sleeping on this side of the room, and we have these little quirks and these little concepts that develop their character, even though it's just like this very quick kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really well done to kind of bring the audience into, okay, these people are going to start to work together, hopefully, and get to know each other and fight together.
Three people kind of stand out to me as kind of getting more development than most of the others here.
Right.
One being Smitty, the guy across from him who first see him throwing a knife at someone's boot.
Yeah.
But he kind of distrusts Dawes from the beginning, just seeing this thin person,
scrawny little boy,
and then when he's not willing to fight, he even takes the Bible from him and kind of pretends. But then once the commander kind of puts Dawes in this position where he's punishing the entire company because of Dawes, then Smitty, when they all attack him that one time, Smitty's the one who breaks it up.
Right. Yeah, it's actually tries to get them away.
Kind of like how that he's not just portrayed as just mean. Like he has some bit more depth because of that scene there.
Yeah. It's not just him being mean or hateful towards Desmond. It's more he sees him as someone, and even the sergeant kind of is like, this is a person who's not going to be there for you, and so Smitty's thinking, well, yeah, if you're not picking up a gun because you're this conscientious objector, then you shouldn't be here. You should just get out of here. That doesn't mean I'm going to beat you up or anything, but just don't. You got beat up. It's time for you to just go, right? I think even the sergeant and Smitty both just kind of tell him after he gets beat up, let's just take you out of here, get you out of here.
Yeah.
And I love Desmond's response where he's like, no, I've got KP duty or whatever. I've got extra watch duty. It's just like, oh man, he's still just standing, he's still being the person that he's being ordered to be. He's being told this is what you have to do in order to be part of this company. And even when the sergeant asks him about who beat him up, he says, who said I was beat up?
Yeah.
I'm just a heavy sleeper, which I think is that kind of idea is a little bit cliched or whatever, but the whole oh yeah, I'm gonna pretend I didn't get beat up. That way the people who did beat me up will be like, oh, he protected us from getting in trouble. He actually does care about us, even though we beat him up. We'll go onto his side now. And so it's kind of this bring them all together moment that just it works, but I feel like it's just kind of overdone, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel like this one it's kind of what the movie's about, so it does work pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the other two characters that I feel were developed more is the sergeant that you mentioned and Sam Worthington, the company commander,
the captain.
Captain.
Yeah. I guess he probably commander. I think
the other guy was the commander.
Oh the guy who does the order later on. Yeah. Maybe that's part of what it was. But so Vince Vaughn and Sam Worthington's characters, playing these superior officers, the drill sergeant and the captain, and I think it was interesting to see Vince Vaughn in this kind of drill sergeant role, where I feel like there were certain points where even he started to crack a little bit, where we see a little bit of a smirk start to break on his face.
Yeah.
During some of the shouting, barking scenes at the troops, which, I mean, maybe that's just the way it goes sometimes. It's supposed to be like a super serious thing, but like if you are yelling at these people and telling them, let me see your war cry, let me see your Indian war cry, it's like, this is so absurd. I can't help but weird. But we see a shift in especially Vince Vaughn's character, the sergeant, in how he sees Desmond Dawes after that scene where he gets all beat up, where Desmond gets all beat up. He's like, oh, okay, well then continue doing what you need to do. And it seems as if both he and the captain start to like accept that, okay, yeah, this guy doesn't want to use his gun, and he's just going to be this medic who's unarmed, and we just have to deal with that. Yeah. They seem like they almost accept it up until near the end of their basic training, where Desmond is supposed to go and now get married. He's supposed to get this pass to be able to leave and attend his wedding with Dorothy. I guess this is where the company commander shows up and tells him no. And if you don't go and pick up a gun and show that you can fire it and hit the targets or whatever, then you're disobeying this direct order. And it's interesting, and at this point I had to think about, is like, what would I do in these circumstances? Would I be able to stick to my guns? Would I be able to...
Well...
Sorry, pun unintended there. Would I be able to hold true to these ideals and not take the gun, even though everyone is standing there? The sergeant's there, the captain's there, the commander's there, and they're saying, this is a direct order. You take that gun. And he doesn't. And so it's something like, that's such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And it ends up kind of just taking him into this very bad kind of situation where he ultimately gets court-martialed.
Yeah.
Where they're going to court-martial him.
Then even during the court-martial, everyone's telling him to plead guilty.
Yes,
that he's
to plead. Yeah.
But then he pleads not guilty, sticking
to it. Yeah. And just, I guess he has that faith and he has that trust that I've had this conviction that I'm not going to touch a gun. I'm not going to kill someone. I'm not going to fire this weapon. And I'm trusting and I have faith that that's going to come through. So it ultimately does. And we get his father back in this really touching scene.
Yeah.
Where the father goes and talks to his previous commander.
Yeah.
And is able to get some kind of letter that they're able to read out and say, more or less, his right here as this conscientious objector to not have to fight, to be able to take this medic role and not have to use a weapon, is this protected right as an act of Congress. So it's like this very interesting kind of thing where in my mind I'm thinking, I don't know how much this conscientious objector thing was a thing back in World War II. Because, I mean, it definitely was, like, a few decades later when we get to the Vietnam War and everything there.
Yeah, the wars back then, like especially World War II, like it seemed very much like the other side was Hitler and the Japanese, and they were portrayed more as evil, and it seemed more like everyone was on the same side of that they had to be defeated.
You had the Allies and you had the Axis powers.
Yeah.
And so it was like this very kind of clear cut. We had like all of this propaganda telling us that, okay, well, Hitler's doing this, the Japanese are doing this, and for the most part, the U.S. saw this as, okay, there's a good reason why we're going to war. against.
Yeah, Desmond even says during the, I think it was during the court martial where he says that the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and he took it personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's why he joined up.
And he talks about all these people, all these boys in his hometown.
Yeah,
who they had to go and sign up. That everyone there took it personally. It was such an affront on their ideals of this is an American society. This is America, and we got attacked by this nation, and we have to now retaliate. We have to defend ourselves. And when he says that there were some people when they got what was it 4F, and when they weren't able to go to basic training, when they weren't able to enlist, and they killed themselves. Like that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And so he has that conviction of I'm not wanting to disrespect or disobey any orders. I am wanting to go and defend my country and fight for my country. I just want to do it without a weapon. So it's this very interesting, like even how you said at the very beginning, it really isn't an anti-war movie.
Yeah.
It's like this anti-violence movie where like he is wanting to go to war in order to protect the people he loves and the country he loves. But it's no longer this focus on, well, I'm doing it by killing the other person and killing these other people, which I think that was, General Patton had a line, and even in one of the movies, I think it's the movie Patton, he has a line where it's like, you don't win a war by dying for a country, you win a war by making the other dumb bastard or what the other stupid bastard die for his country. So if you can get the other country to die for their country, then you end up winning the war. Yeah. And they made a similar kind of comment in this movie where you don't win a war by giving your life. So it's a very interesting kind of like what is going to be this interaction between using a weapon to fight the other people versus not using a weapon and helping your own men and being able to take care of them and make them more effective. So yeah, it's a very interesting kind of aspect there.
Yeah. But then this trial ends with Desmond being able to go overseas to walk into the hellfire of war without a single weapon to protect him.
Yeah, without a single weapon.
So that gets us into the third and final part of the movie. In Japan, on Okinawa.
Hacksaw Ridge. Well, I guess we're not quite at Hacksaw Ridge yet.
Yeah, first you see them kind of walking through Japan, just kind of walking to their place, and it kind of gives you this, just kind of throws you straight into it because you see people leaving the battlefield on these trucks, and you'll see some of them that are shell shocked. Shell
shocked, yeah. They got
their heads wrapped up.
Thousand Eye Stare and everything.
Yeah. Some trucks just piled with these bodies.
Oh man, so gruesome. Yeah, there are certain aspects of like this last part of the movie where I'm thinking, surely not. Surely this isn't how it actually was. Like you just have these piles of bodies on the back of these trucks, like you don't have them covered or anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, this is so crazy. But I don't know. It's possible that that's what it was actually like. Like they don't necessarily have the resources necessary to, adequately deal with such a large amount of deaths because of this area that they're trying to infiltrate, that they're trying to take over, overcoming this ridge.
But they get to this house where they kind of set up for a minute.
For a bit,
and run into this other group where these other medics come in and start talking to Dawes.
Mm-hmm.
And they say something interesting where the Japanese, they tell Desmond to take off anything with the red cross on it because the Japanese will aim for medics.
For the medics.
Yeah,
which I don't know exactly what the laws are, like the Geneva Conventions and all that kind of stuff about like whether you can target medics and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can now, but I'm I'm not sure if that was before
or after World War II. Yeah.
And then even if it was before, I don't know if Japan was really a part of that, and they would have followed it back then.
Yeah,
because just with, and I don't really know how true this is either, but with their sense of honor, that it seems more like they would believe that when you go into a battle you should be willing to die for your
no matter what.
I can kind of see it being that being the way that they're thinking. But it does seem very...
That's true. Like the whole kamikaze thing and everything, where it's like, well, we're just going to basically kill ourselves in order to slam our planes into these ships or these bases or whatever. And so, I guess there is that kind of a different kind of way of thinking that they had when it came to the fighting there in World War II. But I feel like in this movie, and of course this is because the movie is from the U.S.'s perspective and the U.S. soldiers' perspective, but I feel as if they portray the Japanese in like this almost non-human kind of light, and that they're, and I think even some of the characters in the movie talk about them that way, where they're like, they are, crawling around, and they have these, the soldiers don't know about the tunnels, but like we see them at one point like swarming out of these tunnels, and we get like this aerial shot of just this entire horde of Japanese soldiers swarming in, running in towards the Americans.
Even the tactics that they're using, like just throwing, like they're like throwing just a bunch of people that are probably going to die with the first rounds. Or when they're first coming up the ridge, and then there's people just kind of like lying on the ground that kind of pop up and start shooting. So
it's very different. And so like whether that's accurate to the actual tactics the Japanese use there or not, I feel like the perspective that we're getting, and this is because it's told from this side of the story, we're getting that kind of different kind of feeling towards like who are these people that we're fighting, and I feel like that's something that has been true throughout history, that you don't want to, if you're going to be trying to kill someone, basically, you don't want to think about it being another person. So it is a very sad kind of reality that they do have to kind of separate themselves from that humanity and say, like, okay, well, these aren't really people with lives and families and their own reasons for fighting. These are just people that, not even people that we have to kill. Like they use all the different slang and slur terms in order to continue to distance themselves from the enemy. So it's very, very strange sometimes to watch.
This section here, I think it is very well edited, because it has like a lot of different storylines going on at the same time, or it just kind of jumps around from person to person, but it doesn't really ever lose its focus. And I also think that at the beginning of this, it does a very good job of setting up the geography, because like before they even go up the wall, they're talking about the bunkers, and they're talking the positions of the bunkers. So there's these 3 bunkers kind of back from the wall, and then they have this shot of everyone standing down below while the Navy is shooting at the top of the ridge, and it pans up, and you see kind of the size and how flat it is at the top of the ridge. So you're just from the beginning, you kind of know exactly where everything is.
Which one of the characters, when they're asking about the layout of the map and where the bunkers are, like we get this idea of where everything is, but one of the characters even mentions, but it's completely different once you get up there. And so like you get that feeling of chaos and uncertainty and just no one's knowing what's really going on. Because we get like this whole fog smoke screen, all the dust kicked up from the bombardment, right? And so like they get up, they finally climb up this ridge, and there's like now
can't
what?
See anything? Yeah.
Oh man! So it's like you get this tension building of, okay, they mention how the bombardment seems not to do anything, which presumably because they have these bunkers and they have these underground tunnels that they don't, the soldiers don't necessarily know about at the moment. So like they're approaching like what's going to happen, and so when we start getting that first bit of firing back and forth, we get this just complete uncertainty of we're just firing off into who knows where, and we have no idea where we're even hitting.
Yeah, it almost seems like the Japanese kind of can see what they're shooting at because they hit a lot, but then the Americans are just kind of shooting off into the smoke.
Right. And we get that feeling of, okay, we're getting decimated because we can tell that the American soldiers are getting hit.
Yeah.
But we're not getting any confirmation of anything. We don't know anything that's happening in these clouds, in this dust cloud. But I think it was either, I don't think it was Desmond. It was one of the other soldiers. It might have been Ghoul or someone made a comment about, well, if we can't see them.
No, it was Desmond.
It was Desmond?
He ran out and tried to grab someone.
That's right. Yeah. And he makes that comment, if we can't see them, maybe they can't see us. Yeah. And so like, oh yeah, okay, maybe there's like this kind of back and forth to this. So we get this interaction where Desmond is starting to go out and fulfill some of those medic duties of, grabbing people, applying tourniquets, and he's starting to have to learn about the triage of when do I save this person and when do I try and let this person go. And it's goes very much against some of the stuff that he feels like I don't want to let this person go. There's probably a chance that we can still save him. Yeah. And he even says, no, this person can definitely still be saved. Send them down. They've got priority. So like there's this whole thing of almost kind of like a naivety where he's like, does he really know whether that person can be saved or not? Or is he just trying to save everyone? Or does he actually know that, okay, there is something that can be done to help this person?
Yeah.
Another really interesting sequence that I really thought was fascinating to watch was how the soldiers approached one of the bunkers, how they started to get towards one of the bunkers, that they were like leaping over, providing covering fire,
trying to get from the just go to the next hole.
Just like leaping or jumping to the next hole, going back and forth. Yeah, and like throwing this backpack of explosives or something. Yeah, and they get this backpack and they get up to this bunker, and I don't know if it's the shot or like if they're actually this close, but
he's like leaning up against the wall basically.
Yeah, it's like he's right there. Like you can see, there's a person. Just
like there's a person right on outside of the bunker next to him, and there's the whole.
Oh my gosh! So he's like right on top of the bunker, just throws this backpack in, and then has to like try and dash away to take cover as this bunker explodes. Yeah. I was reading online though when, I can't remember if it was Doss or if it was one of the other soldiers giving an account of what happened there. But they were saying that they would. I think it was Doss where he would say, I would, when I would go and try and rescue some of the people, I would be within like 8 meters, like within just 20, 30 feet of the Japanese soldiers and like trying to like sneak away with this person. So I was like, maybe that is like kind of accurate where you do have to have a little bit of this sneaking towards the enemy encampment to be able to either take down these bunkers or try and rescue some of the downed soldiers.
But then this first sort of fight kind of dies down as it gets to the end of the day. And you have, I like how Doss still goes, like after everyone else is kind of settling down and finding their holes to bunk in for the night. Yeah. He still goes out to search for more people. Yeah. And he gets Smitty going with him because he's finally starting to see who he really is.
Right, exactly.
And then you get that conversation between the two of them. Yeah. In the hole where.
Yeah, you get Smitty takes the food that Desmond's not eating.
Yeah.
Like, I don't eat meat. So they start talking about, who's going to take first watch, who's going to sleep. And Desmond is the one who ends up falling asleep. But we get this really weird kind of dream sequence.
Yeah.
Where it's almost as if you don't see it coming, you think like, okay, this is still going on. This is still what's happening there in the actual scene. But you get this weird kind of like green flare that flies over the encampment.
Yeah.
And so it's like this kind of ghoulish, ghastly green makes me think about the Army of the Dead in like Lord of the Rings. These
the green glow.
Yeah.
Same sort of.
Yeah, that green glow where it's like, this is otherworldly, this is something that's unnatural, which actually kind of works because it is this dream sequence where they get the Japanese sneak up upon them and just kind of like gouge Desmond Doss with their bayonets. But yeah, like you said, we get into this very important conversation between Smitty and Doss once Doss wakes up, and they're talking about some more of their background, and we get Doss explaining even more clearly why he doesn't want to touch the gun.
Yeah, that's where it brings in where he almost killed his father at that one point.
Yeah, and it's something that we saw earlier in the movie. We saw this exact same scene early in the movie. We just didn't see the end of this scene.
Yeah.
We see Doss as a team sleeping in his bed, and we hear the father and the mother. We hear them fighting, and we hear some kind of scuffling, and Desmond gets up to stop the action. And here's where we finally get the resolution of that scene, where we see Doss has a gun, and Desmond more or less grabs the gun away and aims it right at his father. And it's this very there's like this tough scene, because it is this idea that to Desmond, even if he didn't pull the trigger, like in his heart, he killed his father.
Yeah.
And so like this very kind of emotional, formative kind of thing for Desmond, where like that was, in addition to the whole Cain and Abel almost killing his brother, this was another aspect where he thought that, okay, as a child, I learned my lesson. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to kill. But then in the heat of the moment, when there's that strife between the mother and the father, he still reacts in that violence. And so it's almost as if he's doubling down on this. I'm not going to, under no circumstances am I ever going to touch a gun, fire a weapon at someone, kill someone. His mother even makes a comment about it being like the worst sin in the eyes of the Lord. So we continue to get that information about why Desmond is doing what he's doing.
But then pretty quickly, the next day, the U.S. troops get knocked off the ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And Desmond's left up there alone, and he goes and does what he came to do and starts saving people.
Yeah, and this scene here, watching the movie, I was thinking this seems so Hollywood. These lines where he just says, "All right, I don't know what to do. I don't hear your voice. Tell me what to do. Let me know what you're wanting me to do, because I'm lost."
Yeah.
And then you hear, from the clouds of smoke and dust and everything, you just hear medic. You hear cries for medic.
Yeah, especially if it seems very Hollywood from like Mel Gibson is the director, and he did Signs, which is very much on like the same similar thing on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, oh man, that seems so strange. Like, come on. But once he actually starts to go and save the people, and the day continues to go on, the line where he keeps saying, "Give me the strength to get one more." I'm like, okay, that too just feels so Hollywood. I'm like, okay, it's good, yeah. But at the very end of the movie, it ends with, or cutting away from the filming of the movie, we go to this archival footage of
this interview with a few different people, but Desmond's there.
Desmond's there, and I think maybe it was the captain.
His father had I think he had both the people above him.
Mm-hmm. So it was like, oh my goodness, it was so fascinating to see. You hear this is based off of a true story, all that kind of stuff, but like this was showing these were actual people. This was an actual thing that took place. Yeah. And Desmond even says that was the only thing that kept him going that night, where he's just saving person after person after person, was just this prayer of, Lord, give me the strength to save one more person, just one more. Yeah. And so it's like, it feels so Hollywood, and that's, reality is stranger than fiction. So I was like, that was what actually happened. Yeah. And so I was like, well, sometimes even if it does feel like Hollywood, it's because it is real. Like, this is Hollywood would get it right, that this is what Desmond was actually going through, trying to save all of those people that he saved.
Yeah, I also like in the sequence how it kind of shows Desmond's resourcefulness.
Yes.
Where like he, when the Japanese are coming and he's with that one medic, he like covers him in the sand and throws the other body on top of him.
Yeah, and like even the thing where it's like the Japanese soldier more or less like steps right next to him, and then turns around and stabs into the person on top of him.
Yeah.
And it's like after the Japanese soldier leaves, he throws the body off and is like checking to see if it actually gets stabbed. Yeah. And so it's like that resourcefulness comes through perfectly to keep him from getting sliced into.
Yeah, and you have like when he was down in the tunnel and he's hiding in that one corner that's so dark that you can't see him.
Okay, so that one I can't believe.
Yeah.
Because we're from the audience perspective, yes, he's hidden, but from where the people are walking past him, they're gonna see him come jutting out from the wall. So it's like, okay, I don't buy that one. That one doesn't work. I don't think that one works. But in addition to him going out and saving all these different American soldiers, we also got him caring for one of the Japanese soldiers.
Yeah, and some of the U.S. soldiers say that he sent a couple of the Japs down.
Yes, down the ridge. And so it's like this call that Desmond has and feels and is led to fulfill goes beyond nation, goes beyond, okay, I'm going to save my American soldier, I'm going to save the people who I am familiar with and the people in my company. It's this call to save and care for any human. So while a lot of the other people in his company were fighting and trying to dehumanize the enemy, he was continuing to see them as actual people.
Yeah.
So it was that was a really kind of nice sequence that we got. Okay, he's not just going to let these people die or stay injured. He's going to still care for them and try and get them some kind of treatment. So, yeah.
And then after the night's over, he's able to save a lot of people, including his sergeant. And then he finally goes down the ridge, gets back to his company.
Yeah, and there's always like, I'm always trying to look for different symbolism and things like that in these different movies. And like this one, I feel like it felt very blatant, very on the nose, like very like obvious that okay, this is probably not how this would actually go in real life. But of course, Dawes is covered in blood, some of his own, some from other people that he's been trying to like drag around and carry around.
Yeah.
And so this blood is just completely caked all over him. He finally gets back to the camp, and someone's standing on this structure just pouring gallon after gallon of water all over him. Just this clear, pure water.
Yeah.
And you see it hit him and just washes the blood away. And you see this blood and water falling to the ground. And so it's like, if that's not a perfect symbol of like this baptism, rebirth kind of setup, I don't know what is. So it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is good. Okay. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it, but I guess it is just that idea of he went through this idea of hell without a single weapon to protect himself, and now he's returned, so to speak, and he gets to see those that he was able to save. It was a very nice kind of moment to be able to come back to.
And then they have to go back on the ridge one last time.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of surprised that they asked Desmond to do it again after everything that he did. But
oh, man.
He's going back up with them. This is the one part where I feel like the editing is a bit weird, though. Because like he's standing there praying, and they say they're waiting for him. But then as they're climbing up the ridge, it kind of plays this triumphant music, and it feels like that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But then it keeps going.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It was kind of strange and felt like just like they glazed over any of the difficulties of taking over the ridge. They're like, okay, like now this time, since we saved all these people and since he prayed for us, we just take it with no difficulties and we just do it. And you have the triumphant music playing, and we succeed.
Yeah. And then I don't know whether it was true or not, but where Desmond's like kicking the grenades away from everyone, it kind of feels like that's not actually what happened, but maybe.
Yeah, I think I read that was not accurate. That he actually did like injure his leg, and like his leg kind of got blown up. I don't know, blown up. It was exactly what it was, but like his leg did get injured quite a bit. But it was something else. It was like a different kind of scenario. So it wasn't that he was kicking a grenade.
Yeah.
But that does make for like such good Hollywood, and that was something that was kind of repeated throughout the movie. Like you have the grenades that were thrown around and were tossed back and forth, and like even when he's in the tunnel and the Japanese throw the grenade after him and he has to run away. So this idea of okay, he's gonna kick back the grenade away from his the troops with him, and back towards the other soldiers. Makes for good movie making, I guess. But but one of the things, going back to like why I guess they had him go, I think that the one medic that he talked to earlier, like who had refused the plasma, I think he passed away, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So like he said, I'm good. Save the plasma for that guy. Is what that main medic told him.
Yeah.
So I think he actually ended up dying. So I don't know if they had very many other medics.
Yeah, because I think the one guy that he covered in the dirt was the other medic, and I don't think he could walk or anything. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was like, oh my goodness. So it was like, as tough as it is, poor Desmond just fought, and there's no rest. He has to go right back into the fray. So makes for a good ending, I guess, where like you get this nice triumphant ending. But it is kind of like, okay, it's just like that ends, and then we just go into this archival footage of the actual people talking about their experiences, and
which I like that they actually have the footage of the actual people, where it was normally in these like based on a true story is just like pictures of them and text. Mm-hmm. So I like that they have that as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, 50, 60, 70 years from now, 100 years from now, what kind of archival footage will we have from today? Yeah. That'll be kind of like...
Well, you had mentioned that it took them a while to shoot this movie, so
that's
maybe
right.
they could have actually shot those for this movie specifically.
That is true.
I don't know if it was actually
archival necessarily. Yeah, that is true, because it did take them a very long time to shoot this movie, that they had this story and they wanted to tell this story, and I don't know if they couldn't find like the studio that would work with them with what they wanted, or if there was like some parts of the story that people were trying to tweak and they wanted to keep it more true to the story or whatever it was.
Right.
And then even when they approached Mel Gibson, I think they asked him like twice, and he said no twice. And so it wasn't until like that third time where like Mel Gibson finally was like, okay, yeah, and like he kind of came back to them and was like, yes, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do the movie. So it was a very extended process to be able to get this movie made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Mel Gibson, like this is a very good movie for Mel Gibson, because I know that some of his movies don't exactly seem like they're the best for him. Like Signs, just the religious part of it kind of came out of nowhere almost.
Yeah.
And I don't know, some of his movies can just be a little too violent or whatever, but this one, like it all kind of worked for the story.
Right. For what the story was trying to say and what it was trying to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, a movie that I would probably watch again.
Yeah.
But would be one that would be kind of like a hard one to watch. That like these kind of gruesome war movies, like especially in that first kind of foray into Hacksaw Ridge was so intense.
Yeah.
So like movies like this, movies like Saving Private Ryan. It's just like some of these movies are just really hard to watch, but like I guess to some degree that's the reality of war.
Yeah.
To some part. So, yeah.
And that will do it for this video. We'd like to thank Mel Eastup for creating our theme.
And join us in the comments section below to go over any other questions and add to the discussion on this movie.
And subscribe so you don't miss our next video, next week.
Yes, next week. That's right.
This is the 5th Tuesday, where we are going to be discussing the movie Primer.
Yeah, with a super special guest, so stay tuned for that. Well, this has been FoxTales Movie Club. I'm Tony Sherman.
I'm Fox, and we will see you in the next video.